My name is Isabella. I'm 36 years old, living in a quiet suburb just outside Denver, Colorado. I work as an accounting assistant for a company that supplies medical equipment, while also keeping our little household in order. No children, no chaos, just me and my husband, Tyler. Tyler is also 36. He's a sales team leader at a well-known real estate company. Always put together, sharp dress shirts, a smooth, confident tone, and the faint trace of expensive cologne whenever he walked past. From the outside, people would probably assume I was lucky. But they don't feel how cold this house truly is. Today was meant to be special. June 12th, our wedding anniversary, 8 years married, and Tyler's birthday. I took a half day off work, drove more than 30 minutes to get his favorite red wine, and stopped at a specialty butcher shop for Wagyu short ribs. Cooking has never been my strength, but I put everything into making this evening memorable. I strung lights along the balcony, spread out an ivory tablecloth, set the silverware perfectly in place. The custom cake I ordered waited in the fridge, simple vanilla frosting with a small message on top. To Tyler, happy birthday and anniversary. By 7 p.m., I slipped into my dress, dabbed on perfume, and waited. I was sure he'd walk through the door. At 8 o'clock, I lit the candles. At 9 o'clock, I sent a text. I'm waiting. No answer. By 9:30, I called. 5 rings, voicemail. Finally, at 10:35 p.m., an email arrived. Sorry, big client emergency. Stuck at the office. We'll celebrate later. No thank you. No happy anniversary. I placed my phone on the table. The candles had long since burned down. The cake still sat untouched in the fridge. I just stood there, motionless in the warm glow of the dining room. A folded napkin still in my hand. I didn't cry, but something inside me shifted. Something that would never go back to where it belonged. That night I packed everything away, boxed the meat, cleared the table, took down the lights. The dinner no one ate. The celebration no one shared. I went to bed near midnight, still wearing the wrinkled dress I'd chosen for him. Sleep never came. Only the image of that brief, lifeless email cutting across my mind again and again like a dull knife. It wasn't the first time Tyler came home late. It wasn't the first time I waited until exhaustion settled into my bones. But this time felt different, like a warning whisper at the back of my neck, a chill creeping down my spine. The next morning, I rose early and went to work as if nothing had happened. But all day, no call, no message. I dialed him again, just ringing. It was as if I no longer existed. By noon, my unease grew unbearable. I phoned his office. The receptionist hesitated, then quietly said, "Oh, he resigned 3 days ago. He didn't leave any forwarding information." I froze in the office hallway, the air suddenly heavy, my heart hammering. Memories replayed in reverse, every detail sharper, crueler. And in that instant I understood. It wasn't a late night at work. He hadn't chosen a client over me. He had chosen to disappear. And I, his wife of 8 years, was the last person to know. After work, I rushed home. Every turn of the wheel felt like pushing against a rising tide. Unlocking the door to our third-floor apartment, the place that once felt safe, I was met only with suffocating silence. My eyes went straight to the shoe rack. A glaring gap where his favorite brown leather shoes should have been. "Tyler!" I called out. Silence. I ran to the bedroom. My stomach dropped. He stood there, suitcase open, clothes shoved into a duffel. A navy suit. A tie. Brand new dress shoes, tags still attached. Things he never wore to regular meetings. "What are you doing?" My voice trembled. He glanced at me like I was a stranger. "You're back," he said flatly, then kept packing. I stepped closer. "Where are you going?" "Out of state," he replied almost casually. "I've accepted a job in Albuquerque." "What?" I froze. You quit your job and didn't tell me?" He said nothing. Instead, he pulled a slim folder from his bag, placed it on the table, and opened it. Divorce papers. I stood paralyzed. "Tyler, what is this?" His eyes met mine, cold, unyielding, like steel. "You're not the wife I want anymore." "What are you saying?" I gasped, stunned. "You always put work before me. The house is messy, you only bother cooking on weekends, and you've stopped caring about me." I tightened my grip on the papers. I try, Tyler. I really do. You come home late, claiming you already ate. I still cook, but you ignore it. I clean, but you snap at me not to touch your desk. And now you're blaming me for not doing my part. Don't throw petty complaints at me, he barked. You're just making excuses. A real wife doesn't need reminders. A bitter laugh escaped me. You talk as if I sit here with nothing to do. I work too. I pay half the rent. But no one cooks for me. No one checks if I'm okay. And I've never once complained. His eyes narrowed. That's your problem. I've made my decision. He zipped his suitcase and strode toward the door. I've rented a place near my new job. I start next week. Stay out of my way. I stepped in front of him. That's it. No apology, no explanation? After 8 years. I don't owe you anything, he muttered, brushing past without meeting my eyes. The door shut behind him with a sharp, final click, like a judge slamming down a gavel. I sank to the floor, divorce papers shaking in my hands. 2 days later, the building manager called. Mrs. Isabella, we just received a request to transfer the lease. The current tenant wants to terminate his contract. My chest tightened. What did he say? He left a note. It reads, I no longer live there. The remaining occupant will move out before the end of the month. No conversation, no message. Just silence. That night, I went through the drawer of our old desk and pulled out the receipts for everything in the apartment. Almost all the furniture, the sofa, the fridge, even the table, was in my name. He had only taken his clothes and a few gadgets. Tyler walked out like a stranger. But his cold departure finally snapped me awake. I looked around. The apartment was full of everything, except the marriage. I didn't sign the divorce papers right away. They stayed on the table for 3 days, like a wound waiting to bleed. Every time I passed by, I stopped and stared, hoping some hidden reason would appear in the black and white lines. But the truth was already clear. The only answer was Tyler's silence as he left without looking back. That Saturday, a notification popped up on my phone. Our high school's 18-year reunion at a craft brewery downtown. A month ago, I had been excited. I even paid the fee, picturing Tyler and me arriving together, hand in hand, looking steady while others had drifted apart. But now it was just me, and the hollow ache of being left behind. I nearly skipped it. But after staring in the mirror at a tired woman who still had a spark of dignity, I decided to go. I slipped into a simple black dress, added wine-colored lipstick and pulled my hair back. Not for anyone else. Just to remind myself I still existed. That I could still walk into a crowded room without breaking. Moonlight Brewery buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, and stories from the past spilling into every corner. At first, I felt out of place. Then a familiar voice called my name. Hey, Isabella. I turned. Nathan. The bass player from our old school band. Now he had a bit of stubble, a softer, steadier look. I almost didn't recognize you, he said with a smile, handing me a beer. Still the last one to show up, huh? We found a small table tucked in the back. Nathan told me about his divorce 3 years ago, about raising his 6-year-old daughter alone. No anger, no dramatics, just honest truths shared between two people already halfway through life. When he asked about Tyler, I answered simply, we're divorcing. That's it. No pity. Nathan nodded quietly, then shifted the conversation to something else. I felt a quiet sense of relief. That evening, driving back through Colorado's cool early summer air, I turned on the radio. An old track started playing, It's Not Right, But It's Okay. The words struck me hard, like a blow to the chest, stirring up a wave of memories. Cold meals left untouched. Messages I sent that were never answered. Hugs that had turned empty over time. For years I kept convincing myself, Tyler's just busy. I should be more patient. Maybe I need to try harder. But standing face to face with the truth, I saw it clearly. I had lived like a shadow, always making excuses for someone else's neglect. That Sunday morning, while pouring coffee, my phone buzzed. Tyler's name lit up the screen. I hesitated before answering. His voice came flat, almost like an order. I told the leasing office we're ending the contract at the end of the month. You should start packing. I kept my voice calm. Don't you think you should have asked if I had another place to go? You're an adult. Figure it out, he shot back coldly. I set the mug down and answered slowly, fine. I'll sign. He stayed silent. And don't call me again, I added firmly. Stop speaking to me like I'm still the one holding your life together. Still no reply. I ended the call. No pause, no second thoughts. I sat back at the table, my eyes falling on the divorce papers. And with the weight of years finally lifting, I picked up the pen and signed. My hand didn't shake. My eyes didn't water. Only clarity remained. After years of empty promises, the fog had cleared. Exactly 1 week after my lawyer filed the divorce, Tyler sent me an email close to 10 p.m. The subject line read just one word, proof. I opened it. Before I could even read the text, a photo jumped out at me, a marriage certificate. Groom, Tyler Robert James. Bride, Marissa Ellis Whitmore. Stamped in bold red ink, Bernalillo County, New Mexico. Registration date. The very next day after our divorce was finalized. Before the shock had even settled, my phone rang. Tyler. I answered. His voice came through, laced with triumph. You saw it, didn't you? I'm remarried. Life's never been better. I said nothing. Just listened. And somewhere deep inside, something quietly shifted. Her name's Marissa, he went on. She's 36, same age as you, but she's mature, kind, and, he paused deliberately. So beautiful, you'd be jealous. I stayed silent. She's the only daughter of the Whitmore real estate family in Santa Fe. Her parents gave us a house near Southern Hills. And the job? They helped me land the position of executive vice president at her company. So that's why you rushed the divorce? I asked, forcing my voice to remain steady. Not exactly, he replied. I just couldn't keep living with a wife who always put work before her marriage. I let out a small laugh. And your new wife? She doesn't work, he said proudly. She chose to stay home. And we're expecting a baby girl. She's 3 months pregnant. Each word landed like a dull blade, slicing through the last fragile thread that had held my marriage together. Yet instead of pain, all I felt was an empty stillness. Marissa Whitmore. I repeated the name after hanging up. It rang a faint bell. Without hesitation, I typed it into Facebook. Her profile appeared almost instantly. Her display photo showed a striking woman, soft blonde curls framing her face, piercing blue eyes, and a smile sharp enough to make anyone feel small. I scrolled further, and by the 10th picture I froze. Marissa was someone I'd known. She went to my high school for 3 years. Back then, she wasn't Whitmore, she was Marissa Ellis. Thin, awkward, with squinty eyes, a flat nose, and blotchy skin from allergic reactions to makeup. She always sat at the back, spoke little, and was often the target of classmates' cruelty. No way. I reopened the wedding photo Tyler had attached in his email. The bride in that picture was unrecognizable, transformed into someone else entirely. None of the old Marissa Ellis was visible. And yet, I remembered those eyes and that slightly crooked tooth kids used to mock her for her bunny teeth. I remembered how she always stared at the floor when walking the hallways. How could I forget? I called Lana, my best friend from high school. Do you remember Marissa Ellis? I asked. Silence. Then Lana burst out laughing. Of course I remember her. I even still have a picture from senior year. Why are you suddenly asking? I told her everything. Tyler, his new marriage, the house, the executive position handed to him. Lana wasn't shocked. She completely reinvented herself after moving to New York for art school. Multiple surgeries, chin, nose, eyes, jawline. People started calling her Marissa instead of Ellis. But her personality never changed. Still quiet, calculating, and strategic about who she attaches herself to. I stayed silent. There were rumors, Lana went on, that she got involved with an older, married architect in Brooklyn. Then she moved back to New Mexico, opened an art gallery. Looks like she's climbed even higher now. I didn't ask anything else. That night, I sat in my living room staring at Tyler and Marissa's wedding photo. The picture gleamed with perfection. Flowers, her white gown, her flawless bright smile. But I knew what lay beneath. Heavy makeup, a carefully manufactured image, and motives well hidden. And that's who he chose. A week after Tyler's self-satisfied call, a text came from an unknown number. It was brief. Isabella, are you free? I need to talk. It's serious. I knew instantly who it was. I didn't answer. 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, I picked up, not out of concern, but because something told me it might be worth hearing. Marissa had the baby. Tyler blurted out right away. A girl. I could hear the lump in his throat before silence filled the line. I waited. She doesn't look like me, or like Marissa, he finally admitted. Actually, she doesn't resemble either of us. I gripped the phone tighter, pressing my lips together to stop the laugh threatening to escape. Maybe she favors someone from your side of the family, I said lightly. No, I thought that too. But Isabella, do you remember when you laughed uncontrollably after I told you about Marissa? You knew something, didn't you? His voice suddenly pitched higher, tinged with nerves and desperation. Leaning back in my chair, I allowed a faint smile. I just found it amusing, I replied evenly, restraining the edge in my tone. Stop messing around. I did a DNA test. She's mine. But I don't understand. Why doesn't she look like either of us? I haven't told anyone but you. You laugh like you already knew. Please just tell me. I let out a soft laugh. My voice stayed calm. Do you remember your high school graduation album? Silence. I found it while packing up the old apartment. I went on. It was shoved to the back of your desk drawer, covered in dust. You were going through my things? Tyler's voice sharpened. No, I corrected. I was cleaning, just like you asked. And when I opened that album, I was shocked. A curly-haired boy with squinty eyes, crooked teeth, and skin covered in acne. It took me a while to realize that boy was you. Tyler exhaled slowly. I always wondered, I continued, why you never introduced me to any college friends in all 8 years, why you insisted on a small wedding without them, why there wasn't a single teenage picture in our home. Now I see. I changed out of insecurity, he said softly. No, I replied firmly. You changed because you wanted to start over. But you forgot one thing. Genetics can't be rewritten. The silence between us stretched heavy. You think I'm ashamed of who I was? He asked at last. No, I said evenly. I just pity that innocent child. She'll grow up with 2 parents who weren't honest. You buried your past. Marissa did the same. And now you're shocked your daughter doesn't look like the filtered versions you both created. You think she'll resemble that old me? Tyler's voice trembled. No one else may know, I said. But she'll carry what's real in you. Your blood. Your DNA. Everything you've tried to erase. I heard him take a shaky breath. And Marissa? I pressed. She cries. Says she's too drained from labor. But the truth? She won't hold the baby. Every time she looks at her face, she turns away. Yesterday, her mother had to step in and take the baby because Marissa refused. His voice cracked. I don't know what to do. I stayed silent, a heavy ache pressing in my chest. Not for Tyler, but for the little girl already unwanted by the very people who brought her into this world. My voice softened. You once told me I failed as a wife because I wouldn't give enough. But the one turning his back on responsibility as a father is you. Tyler let out a weary sigh, maybe ready to argue, but I cut him off. You don't need anything from me. Just make sure you don't unload your guilt onto that child. She isn't to blame. Before he could answer, I ended the call and blocked his number. There was nothing left I needed to hear. Nearly a year passed after that last conversation, and Tyler had become little more than a blur in my memory. Not because I forced myself to forget, but because the life I built afterward filled every corner he once occupied. I rented a small apartment in Boulder, only a 10-minute walk from my office. The balcony opened to rolling green hills, catching just enough sunlight for pots of herbs to thrive. Mornings no longer felt like battles. I'd rise early, brew my coffee, and simply breathe. I kept my job but cut back my hours. Instead of chasing exhaustion, I chose balance. I signed up for a weekend art class and reconnected with old friends, including Nathan, the man I'd met at the reunion. We never chained each other down with promises or demands. Just quiet afternoons and easy companionship between 2 people who valued peace. I no longer thought about Tyler. But life has its own way of delivering updates about people you'd left behind. One cool autumn afternoon, I ran into Lana at a second-hand bookstore. After a few pleasantries, she leaned closer and whispered, "You haven't heard about Tyler, have you?" I shook my head. "Orisa's looking for a divorce lawyer," she said, lifting her brows. "Turns out Tyler cheated again, with someone new at her company. Marissa found out 3 months ago, but stayed silent for the sake of their daughter." "Daughter?" I asked. "She's nearly 3 now. But it gets worse," Lana continued. She pulled up a screenshot from a preschool parents group. "There's a new little girl in class. Her mom had full plastic surgery, and somehow the kids found out. They teased her saying, 'Your mom used to be ugly.' She cried the whole week." My chest tightened as I read the message. I didn't care about Tyler or Marissa anymore. But the thought of a child suffering for choices that weren't hers broke something inside me. Sadness, anger, both. "Marissa regrets having her," Lana went on. "She assumed the child would inherit her post-surgery looks, but it's clear the girl carries the old genes." I had nothing to say. Truly, there was nothing left. Tyler and Marissa had once chosen a life painted in glitter, chasing illusions of beauty, status, and control. But what can't be disguised, truth, history, and the way they treated others, emerged clearly in the child they brought into this world. Later, I picked up a small croissant from the bakery and strolled home through the park, golden light spilling across the grass. My days now held no chaos, no grand drama, only rhythm, independence, and a richness I once thought was beyond reach. Sometimes I still think back. 8 years of marriage, a sudden divorce, betrayal laid bare, and the mask stripped off all that flawless makeup. Yet I don't feel bitterness anymore. I feel grateful. That collapse gave me the chance to rebuild. Not into someone different, but into my truest self. No more compromises, no more avoidance, no more pretending. If someone were to ask me if I've forgiven Tyler, I'd probably smile and reply, "I don't need to forgive anyone. I just need to live honestly as myself." And for the first time in years, I can say that without hesitation. Isabella's story is proof that appearances can fool the world, but time always uncovers the truth. When she was betrayed and discarded for not being perfect, she didn't beg, fight, or chase revenge. She simply walked away and rebuilt her life from the inside out. In the end, those who lived behind lies had to face the fallout of their own choices. Meanwhile, Isabella found freedom, peace, and her true self, something no amount of cosmetic surgery could ever buy.